Okay, let us get started. We're going to discuss computer files and file type because the next project you're about to do is involving different types of files that you will download. So, a computer file is specific to a computer, but it's a way on your computer that you store information. You can also store information on all electronic devices. So, on your phone, you store photos and files and apps and operating systems on your iPad and your Chromebook similarly as well. And files are identified by a name. There are three major types of files. The first is the most common for you. It's a data file. These are things like images that you might save. These are things like your Google Docs slides, all the things on your Google Drive. If you have a laptop or an iPad at home and you download something, those are data files. Your music that you download, those are data files. They basically store information. An application file is a file that makes an application work. So if you open up Candy Crush or Snapchat on your phone, those would be application files, the ones associated with that app. On your Chromebook, you might open the camera app to take a picture. That would be an application. Or the Canvas app in order to draw a picture. Your system files, you don't ever really, unless you know what you're doing, want to mess with these. These are the files that make the entire device work. Often on an iPhone, you'll have to update the iOS or the operating system in order to have the newest version of the software. File names. When you look at the name of a file or you create the name of a file, such as we did when we downloaded your graphs, you remember those were saved as graphs, and then there was a dot, and the extension or the type of file it was came after it. We changed them from PDFs to JPEGs. A PDF stores written information. A JPEG is a photograph or an image type. And you can see that in these little icons. PDF is text, and a JPEG would be a photo. If I want to create some files myself, and just show you how they look on a computer, I can name this part out here is what I create, the my file part. I can name it whatever I want. I could name it Miss Watts's file or Steam file, whatever I want to call it, I can call it. And then the file type comes after it. So this is a .jpeg. This would be a photo or an image. mypic.png. This would be an image. myfile.gif, this would be an animated. GIFs are animated. myfile.gdoc, this would be a Google Doc. graph.pdf, this would be a PDF informational file. And then a watermelon.jpg, this would be a photo. You might see MP3 files, those would be music files. So the dot, anything that comes after the dot, tells you what type of file it is. And before the dot, that's the name you create. So if we look at common file types on your notes, we can do a Google Doc is saved as a GDoc, a G slide, and a G sheet. When we look at other common types of files, a PDF on your notes, it already tells you is a .pdf. If I'm doing website code, those are saved as .html, that's one of the languages that we're coding, or a .css file, another language that we code in. When you talk about music files, the three most common are MPEG audio files, waveform audio files, and Windows Media audio file. And filling those in on your notes would be .mp3, .wave, .wma. And finally, a movie file is called a Movie Pictures Expert Group, and that's a .mp4. When we talk about just images, so those other common types, those could have music, they could have code, they could have text, But when we talk specifically about images, there are several ways that your computer saves images. We've been saving all of your graphs as JPGs or JPEGs. That stands for Joint Photographic Expert Group. You can see where the letters come from for your notes. We also have, if you want to draw a line to match them up, graphics interchange format. Those are the animated GIFs. A tagged image file, a TIFF. These are not great for websites, but they are images. A high efficiency image container. These you'll find on your iPhone. These are iPhone or iPad format files. These are how images are saved on an Apple device. And then finally, the one that we are going to focus on for this project mainly is a portable network graphic or a PNG. These are the best images for websites. So if I look at a PNG file versus a JPEG, we've been saving our graphs as a JPEG, but what is the difference between a JPEG and a PNG? Which should I choose? Well, the reason that we choose PNG files, and it stands for, according to your notes, Portable Network Graphic, is if you look here, a JPEG has a background and a PNG is transparent. So it makes it look like the PNG is actually sitting on the page, where the JPEG looks like a piece of clip art that I've just stuck there. And we're going to look at that a little more. So what is it? Again, we said for your notes, it stands for Portable Network Graphic. It was developed in 1995 by Oliver Frank. We changed the name from PING to just PNG. And it was an improvement upon the GIF, which is a little interesting because they are not animated like GIFs. So they're improvements, but they're not the same. They don't do the same things. A PNG will not move. So what do we use it for? The best thing to use it for is like websites, logos, and things like that, because as you can see, it looks like I put those strawberries right on the page, like they belong on this Google slide. They look attractive. They look like they belong, just like a cute little sticker or decal. Whereas over here, this is not a PNG. This would be like a JPEG because this has this background behind. So it looks like I plopped a label right there. Okay. So it looks like you'll always know that the strawberries are stuck on the slide and they didn't actually like naturally come on the slide. So for your notes, they're great because they have transparent or semi-transparent backgrounds. PNGs, what are they good for? One pro is that they have 16 million colors. Super detailed in the color. You're not just using your basic red and your blues and your yellows. You have different shades of all of those colors. And then they can be edited and opened any way you want because they're not patented. So I can change them if I wanted those strawberries to be purple. I could do that. Nobody owns them. And then they can be stored and transferred for your notes easily. Okay, so I can send them to you via email. If we were working on a website together, I could give them to you. My files are super easy to send. What are the downside? Because I've talked about how great they are. Well, if you're looking for something to be animated like a GIF, they are not animated like GIFs. They're not as small as other images, so they are larger files, larger for your notes. That's a downside because if you're putting them onto a website, the third con is that they don't load as fast. So if you notice it's taking a long time or you're like, oh, the website's glitchy, laggy because the pictures aren't loading, that would probably be because it was a lot of PNG files. They take a little longer for the website to load because they are larger files, mainly because they have all those colors and detail to them. That should be the end of your notes. And then you're going to take a quiz in Schoology using this note-taking guide. First, put your hand in the air so that Miss Watts can check that you filled in all the notes and you're not missing anything.